space.
I want to make sure.
Yep, no worries. You have provided a space for us to begin to share our story and to share pieces of our truth and our experience. Um, Carol, you gave the bio, and it's amazing when you look at like the numbers or whatever that is. But the truth is, it's really that the heart that is the most important to me. I have many of you guys are from the CEO space, which I'm very familiar with. I have traveled the world and stepped on hundreds of stages, impacted over 40 million people worldwide. I was Lisa Nichols' creative director and coach for 14 years, and now have stepped onto a new campus that is changing lives dramatically using the power story. So I know, and I'm very clear that my mission and my purpose on this planet is to wake up people spiritually, those that have fallen asleep, those that are dozing off, those that don't feel worthy. My job and my purpose is to say, hey, I see you. My purpose is shine light in front of them to help wake them up so that they can live in their purpose and their passion. I am part of an amazing, phenomenal team called Do the Damn Thing, where we are on a mission to tap into the world's untapped potential using the power of their story. And we believe everything starts with story, and the solutions are in your story. And the greatest thing that I've had conversations with Carol about and other people that are part of our Do the Damn Thing Nation is your story is the one thing that makes you the most unique. It's the one thing that nobody else has and nobody else can touch. um, our experiences are the things that help mold and shape us and move us forward and make us help us to make the decision of whether we're going to go left or we're going to go right. Do I believe this? Do I believe that? Am I going to get into this relationship, or am I going to end that relationship because it's something that I need to do for me? Growing up, I created a belief that in order for me to be seen or to be heard or even to feel validated, I had to do for other people. And so even from a small child, I remember feeling very different. Like I didn't necessarily fit in. And so the way that I could fit in was that I would do things for people, whether that be cleaning up or doing a particular chore. As I grew older, I was progressing in work very quickly because I was always the yes guy. I was always the one that was going to be like, oh, I'll take care of that. Well, let me do this here. Because for me, that was my way of being and feeling validated, feeling like people liked me. And what ended up happening was I put everybody else before myself. And then all of a sudden I was getting frustrated because I wasn't doing the things that I wanted to do. My goals and my dreams and the things that I wanted to achieve in my life, I wasn't doing because I was so tired of taking care of everybody else's stuff that by the time it got to me late at night, I had no energy. I was going on no sleep. I wasn't taking care of myself health wise. And I became frustrated that here I am trying to fight my way to help other people. And yet I wasn't feeling full and I wasn't feeling whole in myself. I grew up in a very Christian Catholic home in LA and Los Angeles. My father was the assistant fire chief for LA County Fire Department. We lived a very public life. Everybody knew Chief Gill. Everybody knew my dad. And he worked his way up within the fire department. But that also meant that I always had to be on my best behavior. I always had to present in a certain way. Growing up in a very Christian, I went to Christian school in elementary school, and I still felt very different there. I wasn't a sports person. I didn't like playing stuff. I was more of like in the drama. I wanted to be in all the different plays. I've always loved at 4 years old, I turned a pin into a microphone and I would imagine doing different interviews with different people. And so I've always been what I called like I say nosy as a way, but like cheese me, like I want to know like what's going on in people's worlds, and I want to be engulfed into their stories and in their moments, which was really great because I like to talk and now I get paid to talk, so it's great. It worked out pretty well. But what I didn't realize is that even in those moments, I wasn't showing up 100% me. I wasn't owning all of my truth, all of my story. For 44 years, I lived in the closet. Growing up Christian, being gay was not permitted. And I lived a life of trying to hide who I was. I would show up one way when I was with friends. I would show up another way when I was at church. I'd show up another way when I was with family. But I was never whole and complete as myself because I never truly owned all of my story. Too often we sit in a space of, okay, this is the group that I'm going in, and so I'm going to curate an experience. I'm going to curate how I'm going to show up. I'm going to be this person with them. And then we go on to another group, and now I'm going to be this person when I'm here. Which means that this group didn't get all of me, which means I was lying in this particular group because I wasn't showing up authentically. I gave the curated, the masked version, the version that I felt people were going to be able to handle, what they would approve of. So at the end of the day, I would get the, hey, thank you so much for being here. We like you, blah, blah, blah. Because that's how I got my validation, was based on how I felt people felt about me. It was some of your faces I remember. Akram, I remember you from the world tour where we met, and it was actually at that event where I met the CEO. Well, actually, fast rewind. 4 years before that, I met the CEO of a company called Do the Damn Thing, which is who I'm part with now. And she began to tell me her story, the truth of the story, the ugly parts of her story. And I began to share with her my story. And there was a true connection that the two of us made because we were able to be ourselves 100% in that moment. And we were able to connect heart to heart, not from up here in the mind space, but from a heart space we connected. Fast forward, I had been working with Motivating the Masses for 14 years, and I really felt like it was time for me I graduated. It was time for me to graduate and to move on to something else. And the truth is that my voice was being silenced, and I needed to take a stand for myself, and I needed to get my message out into the world. So in September of 2019 was my last month. And in January, I got invited to go to an event in February with Tiffany Largy. It was the Do the Damn Thing World Tour. And she asked me a question, or she asked the group. I felt like she was just talking to me. You ever have like one of those moments when somebody's talking to a big group and you feel convicted and you're like, damn, yeah. So that's the way it was. So I say she was talking to me, but she was really talking to the hundreds of people that were there. And she asked the question, what's the story you're afraid to tell the most? And I knew instantly that the story that I had run from, now mind you, I had been on hundreds of stages. I had told my story. I had taught people. I was teaching emotional literacy, emotional healthiness, how to put words to your feelings, take accountability for choices, all of this great stuff in this space. But I had never shared the truth of my story publicly. Now, if you knew me and we had engagements and interactions, or if anybody asked, I was open. Yeah, of course I'm gay. But I never said it from a stage because I was trying to manage what was going to happen to the audience if I said something. And I didn't want to be the gay speaker. Like I was trying not to go through into a particular group. And I realize now that how selfish I was being, because I have tools to help and to heal people, but yet I'm not using them because I don't want to be stereotyped, or I don't want to be put and told that I'm a category. But that's my story. That's my truth. That's my life. And I have tools and resources to go out and to help somebody. And because of my own managing other people's insecurities, my own doubts in myself, the lack of courage that I had in myself, the lack of validation that I had in myself, I wasn't willing to use the tools to go out and to help other people. And when that fact set in, I felt like crap because of the hundreds of people that I could have impacted more. But I wasn't willing to share the truth of my story. Too often we run from our story. Ash, I appreciate the comment that you made when you began to you started with your story at the very beginning. And those are the moments that allow for each and every one of us to hear the heart of the other person. We are very trained to talk linear. We're given about our 30-second pitch, our elevator pitch, and we talk about what we do. And yet when somebody begins to say, oh, I do blah, 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 and that's the way they start, I'm telling you, for me, I check out. I'm done. I want to hear your heart first. Because if you live in your mind, we're not going to get along as well, because I live in my heart and I want to deal with and work with the people that are heart-based, that are out to make an impact, that want to do better in the world. Your story is what moves people out of the way of the people that you're supposed to serve and becomes the beacon to say, hey, people, I'm here. This is my story and I'm here. And it draws in your audience. It draws in the people that you're supposed to serve because of your story. I often say that our stories can look very different. The experience can be very different, but the emotions of your story are the same. 6.5 years of my life, I spent numbing myself. I didn't like how I was showing up. I didn't like the decisions that I was making. And instead of facing those, I decided to do things that would make me not feel. I was drinking, I was using drugs, I was sleeping around. I was keeping myself busy from actually feeling the things that I needed to feel in order to make better decisions and to be happy in life. Now, I can go through and share now my journey, and depending on who I'm with, I can deep dive a little bit more into the numbness because I was using crystal meth for 6.5 years. Now, when I speak to audiences like at Bank of America and some of the people that are there, I may not talk about the crystal meth, but I talk about numbing because they have different ways of numbing. It may be that they're overworked and they stay at work 16 hours a day, and then they go home and they don't have time for their family. Why? Because their family situation is a mess and they don't want to deal with it. So it's safer to be in the audience. It could be in relationships that you stay stuck in a relationship because you don't want to deal with the pain of what it's going to feel like if you end that relationship, whether that be an intimate relationship or some of the people that are in your own family. The truth is, some of our biggest pain and some of our biggest hurt comes from the people that are supposed to love us the most. Some of our biggest trauma come from the family members when we were children of what they said or what they did to us that are still showing up as adults. We're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and it's still, that conversation is still live in us. Why? Because it touched our heart. The power of your words and how you speak. If you think about the words that are being said to us, they go in our ears, but they land in our heart. If you remember back in the day before cell phones came around, before we didn't have to memorize phone numbers, we would say, I'm going to remember your number by heart. Exactly. Because we felt something. There was an emotional connection. Oh my gosh, I got to remember that number. 323-712-712-712-6542. 6542. We remember it because we're putting it in our heart. It was interesting that, earlier after the first breakout session, Carol, that you had talked about, I had mentioned about how one of my biggest takeaway was the power of our words and how what's said to us as little children show up as adults, which makes me very well aware of how I talk to young kids, how I talk to children, how I pay attention to them and treat them with the respect and understand that my words are landing on their heart. I want you to think about the last child that you spoke to. Were you giving them life or are you taking life away? In every conversation that you have, are you giving life or are you taking life away? Is this person going to be a better person because of the interaction that you just had? Your story is the way of connecting to them. Your story is the thing that nobody else has. Deb, your story of resilience and the fight that you have, you were fighting for your life. And now you have that ability and you're using that story to fight for other people. Carrie, when you shared your story about the tree and the tree being cut down, that incident, that one was not only just cutting down the tree, but it was cutting down dreams. It was cutting down enjoyment. It was cutting down the joy that you had in your life. And that moment has then rippled into all areas of your life as an adult. Kevin, the feeling of having somebody understand you. And although you didn't understand the gift or know what the gift was because you were too young to understand what is this and how am I supposed to use that, somebody stood up for you and said, hey, I get it. It's going to be a different road. People aren't going to understand. But for that moment, you felt like somebody understood you. That's what we all want. The truth is, as humans, we want to be seen. We want to be heard. Crap, we just want to live and be happy. And that comes with your story. That comes with owning your truth and who you be. The conversation of being stuck, of not wanting to feel stuck anymore. Akram, when you shared with that of being your own rescue, I have to save myself. You know, when Tiffany asked me the question of what's the story that you're afraid to tell, and I knew that it was coming out. I knew that there was also going to be repercussions of me doing it publicly. I knew that my parents weren't going to be happy. I knew that my father was going to have a big problem with it. I knew that some of the people in the faith-based community that are family members were going to not be happy and were going to say some stuff, and they did. I have 2 aunts that don't talk to me anymore. My father, we were in a very ugly period for a couple months. It's a lot better now because we've had the conversation.
Hey, Matt, I'll be
Yes,
your
ma'am.
aunt. I'll be your aunt.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. It's the power of story. It's about going through and being willing to share your truth, the good, the bad, and especially the ugly. And I really want you to take away the idea of what part of your story are you running from? What are you running from? What's the piece that you haven't shared publicly yet? You may not have even shared it with yourself, the truth of it yet. Like, what's the part of your story that you have been running from? One of the biggest things that I had to do was I had to look at the people and the environment that I was in. The people that I was tolerating, the situations that I was allowing, the relationships that I was in, that I knew I needed to change, because if I'm changing, my environment has to change. If I'm making different decisions, where I'm going and what I'm doing has to change as well. I made the decision to physically move from my location and move from San Diego, California to Phoenix, Arizona. I went from the beach to the hot desert. And let me tell you, it gets hot out here. But I needed that to change up my thinking process, to change how I was showing up. I needed a new space to be creative again. But I had to change my environment. I also had to get away from some of the people that were pulling me down. And some of those people, like I said, were my family. I want you to think about who needs your story. Not the great marketing piece of your story that looks really good on a PDF or that you're going to put on the website. What's the piece of your story that nobody else knows, that somebody needs for their healing? So March 1st, 2020 is the day that I publicly came out. I was challenged by Tiffany to go through and to post my story and to do a video on my story. I thought in my very creative, sophisticated way, I was going to put it together a video, and I was going to put baby pictures and put great music and do a whole documentary thing in there, because I wanted to keep myself busy and buy myself time versus just doing the one thing that I can do, take out my phone and just go onto Facebook Live. Like, we have one of the greatest assets right here in our hands that we carry around in our purse and in our pockets. This is one of the greatest tools that we have to make connections with other people. And I wanted to do a big production. Tiffany's like, no, you need to just go onto Facebook Live and do it. And sure enough, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I went live. And let me tell you, I was scared out of my mind. I was nervous. And as I went live, I got to begin to see that there was like 20 people on. I was like, okay, I can handle this. 50 people came on. I was like, all right, now I'm getting this, a lot of people watching right now. Keep going. By the end of this live stream, I had over 400 people that were watching. And I got into the ugly cry. Like, I was snot coming down, you know, all the stuff that you don't want to do when you're on camera. They got to see the real, they got to see my truth. And the comments and the emails and the text messages that I received afterwards made it all worth it. Not for myself. I mean, yes, I felt there was some joy and some relief that I felt, but ultimately, it was the stories that people began to share with me. For the first time, people were able to say, man, I have this secret. I don't know what secret you're holding on to right now, but there's something that you have that the world needs, that Kevin, only you can bring. That Deborah, that can only come out in your voice. Phil, it is a story and a piece of you that somebody has been waiting for, just to feel like they're catching their breath. Carol, it's a person that's being that needs to feel the comfort, that needs to feel safe again. Carrie, it's a person that needs to be able to dream again. Somebody else has come along in their life and they've cut down their tree. And they need to dream again. Philip, it's for the person who wants to be healthy again, who wants to understand how their body and how all of this works. And they're looking for an answer that only you have, Philip. Akram, there are people that are waiting to hear the words that, look at, I was waiting for somebody to come save me, but I had to save myself. And I don't want to leave you out there on a boat by yourself anymore. Let me help you. Use my story as a way to help guide you in the direction. Stop giving people different versions of you. You know, our time is very limited here, and especially in where the world is today. I sit back and I hear stories of people who have been living in pain 20, 30, 40, 50 years because they haven't heard the right person share their story. You are that right person. So as I end this piece, I want to challenge you. I want you to really think, what part of your story are you running from? I want you to take a look at your environment. What needs to change? Who are the people? What are the situations? What are some of the relationships? What needs to change? And the third thing is, who needs your story? when I think back, when I think of what wouldn't have happened if I didn't share my story, what wouldn't happen? My nieces and nephews wouldn't be able to love themselves in the way that they do right now. See, for 3.5 years, I was their father. I had legal custody of them, and I helped raise them when they were 4, 2, and 9 months. And I was very mindful of the way that I brought them up and the way that I spoke to them. And because of me sharing my story, they now have a bolder way of showing up. They're also more free to share their truth. They understand that I'm a safe space, that they can tell me their truth even when it's ugly. What wouldn't have happened if I didn't share my story is my mother would not have been able to open up and tell me something, a secret that she's been holding on to since she was a teenager, because she was living in the shame of what she went through. Watching her share her story and be able to release that secret, that pain that she had been holding on to, that was all worth it. What wouldn't have happened if I didn't share my story is the fact that my dad is more open to understanding people now. And understanding that the old school ways don't necessarily, they weren't right in the first place. And he has ability to change. What wouldn't have happened is the email that I got from somebody who I have never met personally. When Emilio told me that he decided to not take his own life. And for the first time felt like he could breathe. Your story is powerful. Your story is your superpower. Your story is what clears the path so that you can get to the people that you need to get to sooner, quicker, faster. And the more that you own your story, the more healing that you get. And the more doors that open up. I know this because I've done it. And I continue to do it. I continue to tell my story in every opportunity that I get. Because it's the one business card. It's the one business card design that nobody else has. Everybody's got the same type of business cards, or just click the phone here or do this. Tell my story. And I'll always bet on my story than anything else. So I'm Matt Gill, and I approve this message.
You guys can unmute yourselves.
Congratulations, Matt.
Thank you. I received that.
Welcome to the world of fabulosity. I've been here for decades.
Yes, I love it.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing your story, Matt.
Thank you.
It's
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
I have a comment.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, and I want to build on to at the beginning when we had first got together and I said, if anybody wants to be interviewed on my radio show, to send me an email. And I've been telling people for 20 years, come on and tell your story. Come on and show who you are. Don't try to sell anything, because if they like you, we'll make sure they can find you. We can make sure that they'll see it. But if you come on and just start to do a sales pitch after a sales pitch, I will throw your ass off the air. Because my listeners do not listen to be sold to. They listen to me, people's story and their uniqueness. And I wanted to share that. And I'm hoping you will take it up on the offer, because I would love to have you on to talk about your story. I'm also notorious for asking really intense questions. So if you don't like to be uncomfortable, don't come on my show.
I love it. It's all, let's go. Let's go. I love it. I love it. By the way, I already wrote your information down right here. So got you. And you know what? It's interesting because most people are used to the sales pitch type conversations. And when you do something different, when you tell your story and you're authentic, and I say authentic, not real, because there's even the word real now, people are trying to be real, and so when you're authentic, people feel the heart. And when you're authentic, you are going to find people there. Your goal really should be to either get them to love you or hate you. One of the two. They shouldn't be in the middle. I always say you're either with me or you're gone. I don't want you in the middle. I want you either we're ride or die, we're in this together, or you're out. Because I don't have time to use up energy for people that aren't in the same alignment or in the same direction. I can go like this and reach back and pull as I'm going on. But there are way too many people that need me to be focused in this direction of helping these people and reaching them than to fight somebody else that I'm going to be in a battle with all the time. So I love that, Kevin, that you have your guests as heart-centered people.
Yes. And, one of the things, Matt, is that people that decide to step into authenticity and tell their story have to go in understanding your story is going to trigger people who are not ready to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to ground and center yourself in the ability to recognize, oh, I've hit their trauma and they're going to try to take it out on me, and I'm going to hand it back on a plate of, really? Hey, I'm sorry that this has struck you that way. I'm not buying I'm not buying the crap. I'm not taking it on, because your story triggered all of the good Christians in your life, and family, and language and culture. And, so oftentimes when we tell our story, the first step is know you're going to trigger people and be prepared. Because we go out there going, I'm going to tell you my story. And then somebody goes, oh, that's the most horrible thing I ever heard. And then that little wound can really open back up very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. And that's why telling your story is so important, and telling it over and over again, because you heal through that. Yep. The impact of you being triggered by somebody else's response is less active, or it's not as strong, because you're building that muscle. It's just like going to the gym. When you first begin to tell your story, you're weak, you're not strong. For many people, it's the first of beginning to tell their story is the first time that they have even heard their story for themselves, let alone for anybody else. I believe that when you begin to first tell your story, you're only telling your story so that you heal, so that you get strong. And then you begin to shift the more that you say it, so that it impacts other people. And then you're able to, I hear people all the time in some of our programs or experiences that we create, and they're like, I can't get through my story without crying. Great. Tell it and cry, and then do it again, and tell it and cry, and then do it again. And this time you're going to cry a little bit less. You're still going to feel the emotion. You're never going to not get through your story without feeling the emotion. And if you're telling your story and you don't feel the emotion, then something's wrong. Even trauma, there's still the feeling of it. There's still that moment of experiencing it, of putting yourself back into that space. You have to be willing to go there. If you want to make an impact in somebody's lives, you can't do it from the outside. You have to go into the dark place with them. You have to go into that space, and then you have to be strong enough to walk them out. There have been too many times where I've seen some of these fast food coaches that are out there that are taking people into the dark part, but they haven't even gone through their own story to be able to walk somebody out. And then they leave them there. And then they sell them a program. And then they say, hey, we're going to make you feel better. But they leave them in the dark. They don't walk them out. You have to be willing to share your story, go to your dark, and then pull them out so that they see and feel your light, and it's a reflection of their own light.
And, there used to be a lot of belief that, if you show too much emotion, you lose credibility, blah, 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 or you come across as manipulative. But the truth of the matter is, when you can go back and touch the emotion of a story and share that emotion, you give the other person permission to have their emotion.
Yes, sir.
To meet you there because you've created the safe space that says if me on the stage or the person at the head of the room or whatever role I'm playing, if I can go back and still share the emotion of a story, then you can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You give permission. You give permission. I love that.
We're gonna have a hell of an interview when you come on.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. Emails coming right after this.
I think too, with the story, so many times we want to say it super fast.
Mm.
Like, okay, well, I said the story, right? But we had talked about the being of all of it.
Mhm.
And that only comes from re-saying it, reliving it, re-being it, and seeing yourself in loving ways.
We just finished night school, and one of the things that came out of night school was be the story. Like, don't just tell a story, just really truly be the story. Be you. Allow people to truly see you and who you be, who you are. They need to see the consistency of how you're showing up so that you're not showing up one way in this one webinar and then they meet you in person and you're something different. Listen, I've been in rooms with some of the top speakers and people that are out there. I've been in their private spaces and I've seen the good and I've seen the bad. I've seen the people that are one way on stage and then backstage they're like somebody else. You're like, who the hell are you? Like, this is not real. Like, you need to be showing up consistently. And the truth is that you'll show up consistently when you are whole, because you're not going through and being one way with one person, one way with another person. There are too many people that are telling lies out there that they forget what lie they told to what group. And then they're so confused, right? Because they're not being true. If you're true, if you are whole, you're going to show up the same way. I can't tell you how many people that I've done either live streams for, or they've seen me in events and live streams, and then they meet me in person. They're like, oh my God, you're just like I imagined. Exactly. Because I'm the same person on stage as I am off stage. You're going to get the silliness. You're going to get the goofiness. You're going to get the love. You're going to feel the joy. We're going to have the moments where I'm going to step on your toes. I'm going to probably piss you off at some point, but I'm going to do that in the same way when we're off stage. Because you're feeling my truth. You're feeling my love. I'm sure Carol has rolled her eyes and gave me dirty looks so many times because I'm calling her out on some of the crap. And I'm like, Carol, that's a bunch of mess. But I'm going to do the same thing when I'm on a live stream with her. When you are consistent and you are in your authenticity, you're going to show up the same way, no matter what room, no matter what space, no matter what live stream, no matter what phone call, no matter what email you're on. You're going to show up the same because you're authentically you. You are your story.
You want to share with them the homework assignment you gave me? And as soon as you said it, I started crying.
Mm-hmm. It's probably one of the, it's simple, but it's challenging for some people because it requires you to look at yourself. And I want you to ask yourself, what are 10 things that you can celebrate yourself for right now? Something that you haven't celebrated yourself for in the past, something that you haven't acknowledged. It could be a decision that you've made. It could be a relationship that you ended. It could be a dream that you decided to bring to life. It could be a conversation that you've had with yourself. What are 10 things that you have not celebrated yourself for? I want you to think of your brain and your mind as this like file cabinet. And when we get a new idea or we get something that we want to do, our brain goes into these file cabinets and is like, can we do this? Can we do this? And we have plenty of evidence that says we can't do something. Because when we've tried something and it didn't work, we're like, ah, shit, that didn't work. I'm not going to try that again. And we put that evidence of it not working into the file cabinet and it's there. And then we try something else and we put that inside the file cabinet, and it's like, nope, not going to happen. Oh, I want to go out and I want to write that book. Oh, who wants to hear my message? Nobody's going to want to listen to my story. More evidence, more negative evidence. And so all of a sudden, we have all of these pieces, all of these things, this evidence that's here. And so we come up with an idea. Oh my God, they want me on the podcast to share my story. Okay. Nope, 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 nope. We have no evidence of it working. When you begin to celebrate, and I say the word celebrate, you can change it with acknowledge, recognize, whatever word you want to put in there. When you begin to celebrate the things that you're doing, you're putting evidence on the other side. The number one thing when you go to court is, what do you need? To prove your point, you need evidence, right? So your brain needs evidence of when it worked, which is why you need to celebrate, which is why you need to acknowledge, which is why you need to recognize when something does work, even if it took you longer than you expected. So Carol, I cannot wait to hear your list. I cannot wait to hear all of your lists. What are 10 things that you can be celebrated for today?
Does anybody have a thought, a comment, question?
Keep being you. Keep being you. You're fantastic.
Yes, ma'am. Be the story. Be the story.
I have a comment that kind of goes with what you've been talking about tonight. One of the books Carol and I read, Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. There's a passage in there that goes with what you said. So all the challenges you're going through in life, your problems, challenges, everything that happens, it's not for you. It's for somebody else you're going to meet, that you're going to be able to help walk them through the journey because you've been there and walked through it.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it be Carol almost dying, me almost dying, being homeless, births, deaths, little ones dying, been through the journey, and you can help the other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we kind of look at a lot of the stuff in our life. We can help people, and we have with our stuff we've been through.
Thank you, Annie.
Philip, there's so much more. We need your wisdom. I need your wisdom. I need to hear your story. I need to see strong men who have gone through stuff, who are willing to share. I need to hear from the people who have experienced more of life, that have gone through lessons and learnings that I have not gone through and that I don't want to go through.
Some of them, no, Carol and I look at each other and we go, we did not need this. But it's like, okay, God has something for us. Well, your God, our God, that we're going to learn from this. It's going to make us stronger,
Mhm.
individually and as a couple. And like I say, we can help other people.
Mhm.
We've been there. So I just thought I'd share that because we do live by that, helping people. You know, Carol's done over 4,000 birth families and all that. And some days I walk in the door and there's a birthing tub in the kitchen. I go,
Every day.
okay, all right, well, okay, we're doing this, helping a life be born. I mean, how can you put a price on that? A life being born. So it's kind of neat to see that, a lot of life. So thought I'd share that. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Philip. And you know, so I don't really talk about it very often, but back in 2017, I wrote a book that was Amazon International Bestselling Author. It was my very first attempt to tell my story. It's literally 28 pages. So Don't get too excited about it. It was my first attempt, but it was me just proving to myself, can I write a book and can I get published? That was really, truly it. I had not practiced telling my story. I wrote this, but the name of the book is Got It, Get It, Give It. And it was a phrase that to me is our purpose and of why we're here on this earth. Our job is to understand what we got, meaning what did we come on this planet with? What are the talents? What are the skills? What are the moments? What are the things that we got? How do we learn to get it and work with it and improve it and give our skills, our talents, our abilities? Kevin, that's learning to use those psychic abilities, and how do I truly get this gift and do something with it and then give it to the world? Got it, get it, give it. We experience life. We understand it. We use it for something better to impact people, and then we give it out into the world. So Philip, that book and what you just said is right in alignment with that. I truly believe our story is not ours. Our story is for other people.
I've got share something else. I've had this for, oh God, let me think. 15, probably about 55 years. I have it posted in my room. The phrase is, this is the beginning of a new day. God has given me this day to use as I will. I can waste it or grow in its light and be of service to others. But what I do with this day is important because I have exchanged a day of my life for it. When tomorrow comes, today will be gone forever. I hope I will not regret the price I paid for it. So I have that in my office on the wall. Look at that every day when I get up.
Beautiful reminder.
Yeah, and then Carol and I go, okay, let's see what God has in store for us today. Some days we don't get till breakfast till like 6 o'clock at night. We sit there going, did we eat yet today? No, life happened here, and that, and we just
Sure.
chuckle about it. But
Yes, sir.
yeah, but anyway, I've had that posted up there for almost 50 years. I've had that as a reminder. So I like it. So
I do too. Thank you for sharing, Philip.
thought I'd share it.
So Matt, how can everyone reach out to you? This is recorded. It will be up for the whole year on our website. And what I would like you to do is, what's the best contact information for individuals to reach out to you?
So if you would like to, my direct email is Matt, M-A-T-T, at DTDT, as in David Tom, .co, C-O, DTDT.co. You can find me on all of my social media platforms. So on Facebook, it's Matt Gill, G-I-L, 2 T's, 1 L. LinkedIn, you can find me also there. My business page is Matt Gill Global on Facebook. And if you're an Instagram person, I decided to use, because Matt Gill was already taken, I used Mateo, M-A-T-E-O-G-I-L, which that's my I don't want to say my spicy name. Sebastian is the guy who gets me in trouble. That's my alter ego. But Mateo is kind of like my sexy Ricky Martin type vibe. So Mateo Gill is my my Instagram.
Thank you so much. And so the other thing is, Dr. Kevin, can you verbally let people know how they can contact you? And I'm going to go down each person because this will be a recorded message, and so they get to know how they can reach out to you as well.
Yep, you can reach out to me at info@kevinrossemery.com. My website is kevinrossemery.com, and I'm on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all as Kevin Ross Emery. And those are all the ways that you can reach me. So there you go.
Thank you. And Deb,
Deborah at deborahmcphee.com. And the website is the same, either mcpheecoaching.com or deborahmcphee.com.
thank you very much. Carrie,
Harry P. Keller, that's KERRYPKELLER at gmail.com. Soon it will be kkeller at Superfocus Me. And my phone number is 314-610-2142. It's in the chat.
and your website is?
Probably in another 10 days, it's going back up.
Okay.
It's superfocusme.com.
Thank you. And Mr. Phil Conway.
I'm on LinkedIn as Phil Conway, and on my Facebook group, Magnetic Mastery of You is the Facebook group. My own name, Phil Conway, on Facebook, and on Instagram, Be Inspired Phil.
Wonderful.
Oh, coachingwithphil@gmail.com is the email.
Okay, thank you. Akram, are you able to unmute?
I am. So I am Akram at email.com. That's AKRAMA at email.com. And my number is 773-835-3100.
I wish to thank all of you. Oh, and honey, you want to give your information as well?
Okay, I put it in the chat. For some reason, I'm having a problem with my Zoom chat where the 3 dots aren't there for printing it. Some days it's there, other days it's not. Drives me crazy. I'm trying to print stuff and have it, so I
Just say what.
anyway. Okay, you can reach me at well, for the health and well. Honey, what are you laughing at for?
Nothing, honey. I'm just
Go through
enjoying
this
your.
every Zoom call. Where are the little hamburgers? It's not there. Okay, all right, another story. You can reach me at pwachniak@gmail.com for the health and wellness and all the PEMA and PMF stuff. Centropics, which is CENTROPIX.US/4 and health. Really got some cool information out there. And of course, my email's attached there as well. And there's also FijiFoundation.org, where you can see everything we're doing with our project in Fiji. So phone number, did I give that already, honey?
I don't-
I don't know, I'll say it again, 630-656-8481. Thank you.
I wish to say thank you to all of you for making this day a better place to live.
Thank you, Carol, for having me as well. I just want to thank each and every one of you guys for allowing me into your space today and just to share a piece of my heart. One of the things I did forget to say is you're more than welcome to visit dtdtnation.com to learn a little bit more about Do the Damn Thing and how we help people. It's dtdtnation.com. Thank you, Carol.
And this year you're focusing on the story. This year it's all about the story and going into the great details of the story. And it really is the lifeline for so many.
Here's the beautiful thing is if Tiffany hadn't shared her story with me and I hadn't shared my story out publicly, I would not be here in this room. This is actually, I'm in Phoenix in one of our studios here, and this is the dream. This was the dream when I was a little child. This was turning the pin into a real microphone that's here inside of this set. And it's all through the power of story. And we're on a mission to tap into the world's untapped potential using their story. We have our production offices and studios that help people go through and get their message out through podcasting and content creation, all of that. But it's really just helping people own the truth of their story so they experience the freedom and the joy and the love that they were designed to. And then comes all the fun stuff of all the marketing and all that other things. But it's really, truly about the heart first.
So
And
thank
I'm gonna be in, I got a place in Casa Grande, which is about an hour south of Phoenix. I'm gonna be there next month, so maybe we can hook up and have some lunch.
I would love that. Please reach out. I would love that, Deborah.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. Have a blessed day. Next month, we have Robert Johnson, an amazing speaker as well. And he will be our next guest speaker. Please join us. Thank you. I love you all.
Hey, guys. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Night.